Good evening and welcome to the regional championship version of Husker Heat. As everybody probably knows by now, they're headed for Baton Rouge. I should say we're headed for Baton Rouge because I'm going to Baton Rouge. Have a nice red-eye early morning flight out of Omaha at 5 a.m. on Friday. And
doesn't red-eye mean the last flight?
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. I've heard it used mostly for the midnight stuff, but I've also heard it used because of red-eye being like red-eyed in the morning. I don't know. It works for me. That's all I care about. And joining me as always and scoffing at her father is Miley Ketterson. Miley, say hello to everybody.
Hello.
And enjoy her as Miley Ketterson while you can, folks, because her lunkhead boyfriend finally popped the question. Nah, that's her boyfriend Connor. I'm assuming he'll be jumping in here at some point. He's got to be feeling pretty good about out kicking his coverage, but yes, she's about to become what? Miley Smith? That kind of sucks. You have to take the name John. John Smith. But no, very happy for them both. Connor's a good guy. You see him pop in with his little Cowboys symbol, and try to steer this thing toward the Cowboys and the Celtics. But we love him anyway. So congratulations, you kids. Anybody feel free to jump in the comments. Congratulate the happy couple. How long have you guys been going out now?
Over 4 years.
Over 4 years. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking more like 3, but yeah, I guess it had been a couple years there at Midland.
2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, nothing like a pandemic to make love happen, huh?
It was after.
I'm gonna be taking these shots.
It was Tinder. Yay.
What?
It was Tinder.
Yeah. You mean you haven't lost Tinder already?
No.
Maybe think over this wedding if we were still swiping left and right. Anyway, but it's not just all about Miley getting married. It's also about the Nebraska Corn Huskers headed back to the regional for the seniors. This is their third trip to the regionals in the last 4 years. I'd love to gripe about the NCAA and the Big Ten. Who the hell doesn't? But last year, I really felt the only reason they didn't make it is because much like football, where they can use an injured player, an injured star as a reason to keep you out of the playoff and whatnot, the feeling was that Nebraska, because several teams that Nebraska finished ahead of, beat, and had a higher rating than made the tournament, and Nebraska didn't. but they were down to one healthy pitcher, Sarah Harness. They started the season with 5 pitchers because the year before they had 3 and 1 got hurt, and last year they started with 5 and 4 got hurt by the end of the year. So Sarah Harness was just going to be pitching every inning of every game as far as they went. And then Indiana came back in the semifinals and took them out there. It was their 3rd straight year losing in the semifinals of the Big Ten softball tournament after they won it in 2022. So yeah, very active session or time now for the Huskers softball team. It's Big Ten tournament, regional. Should they find a way past the LSU Tigers, then they'd be off to a super regional is most likely as a guest. And unless there was just a whole spate of SEC teams getting upset, and I don't see that happening. That conference is a buzzsaw. So they went down to West Lafayette, the home of Purdue. Very nice stadium, Purdue. Very nice press box, nice stadium, first-class job by then. When I saw the place, I didn't realize they took softball that seriously, and then they pulled, 3 upsets and got to the finals of the tournament where they lost to Michigan 4-2. Coincidentally, the score
Purdue didn't make it to the final.
I mean, no. They lost in the semis. Michigan beat Purdue, and then Michigan beat LA. I think they beat Purdue 4-2 in the semis, and then Michigan beat UCLA 2-0, I believe, in the championship. What's that?
Didn't they just redo their stadium?
Didn't they just get a new stadium?
Redo.
They might have. That press box is pretty impressive. That was the best press box I'd been in at any of my softball road travels. But I took a look at LSU's little stadium there, and they appear to have quite the press box as well. So we'll see. So Big Ten tournament. Let's see. We got one comment. Let's see who that is. Connor. Oops. Come on. What? What is
Huskies, Huskers.
Oh, okay. Urzies. Okay, got it.
I didn't get it. I had to think.
Work on your game, Connor. That was just too much thinking. This might just turn into harass Connor night too. You never know. But anyway, first game they played Penn State, a dangerous Penn State team, which upset Iowa 6-2. That was a fantastic matchup for Penn State because Penn State's all conference, freshman of the year, all everything. Their superstar pitcher last year, Bridget Nemeth, got injured, like shades of Jordy Bahl. She got injured 4 batters into their season this year, and they lost her for the rest of the season to an injury they still haven't disclosed. So, that has me going, so why are we hiding an injury that literally kept her out for the year? I mean, it's softball. No one's going to be looking to, destroy that knee or anything after a play in football. But anyway, they actually had one of the best hitting teams in the conference. So they hit like 330 something, 332, 333 as a team. Had three ladies on the team with double figures and home runs. And the reason it was such a good matchup was Iowa's not much of a hitting team. Their offense is kind of weak. And so what a great matchup for a team with a crappy pitching staff, because the staff's ERA was like 570 or 580 on the season. It was brutal, and you kind of saw that when they played the Huskers, for whom that's a horrible matchup, because now you've got a good hitting team and a better hitting team going to each other, and one of them has Jordy Bahl, and you've got pitchers that as a staff walked more batters than they struck out. And just to put that in perspective for those of you who are from the stat nerd island, like Miley always likes to say, strikeouts to walks, you should have a good strikeout to walk ratio is 2 strikeouts for every walk. And they actually had like a reverse ratio walking more than they struck out. And I think in the 5 innings or the 4.5 innings Nebraska hit, they walked like 7 or 8 batters. So you could just see their lack of control. Nebraska hit pretty good against them, but good grief, that team was just botching it around in the field. They only got charged with 2 errors, but I think they were generous to them 3 or 4 times calling. There was one where like gal's running for the ball in the outfield just to catch like a fly ball that she has to run for, hits it right smack in the middle of the glove and pops out, and they called that a hit. And so I think they were just feeling generous in the score box since Penn State was getting whooped upon, but won that game 9-1.
It was like one of those Minnesota games where they were just throwing over the place.
Kicking it, throwing it. Yeah. There was one, and somebody goes, well, they were obviously just going to give up the steal, but it ended up looking goofy. You had runners on first and third, and our runner on first goes running down to second. The catcher comes up gunning, and so she freezes like 10 feet from the bag, and then the catcher lets it go, but the second baseman's standing 5 or 10 feet in front of second base. So then whoever's running for Nebraska kind of stopped and watched her throw it towards someone nowhere near the bag, and then just trotted in to second. It just looked goofy. I mean, there's times where you'll just see him throw the ball back to the pitcher, take second. I'm not going to risk a play at home or throw it into center field and you get an easy run. But there were just moments like that where there was the one to the shortstop. I think this was the first error, and it was just a little toss to second for the force out, and she threw it like halfway between first and second into right field. It was just the merry-go-round just seemed to be going at times. But like I said, you lose your best player. Just imagine what this team would be without Jordy Bahl.
I mean, we saw it last year.
What's that? Yeah, but at least they had 2 quality starters last year, though, in Harness and who was the other? Oh, Caitlin Kenny, I think.
Oh yeah.
And
Olinsky.
Caitlin Olinsky pitched pretty well until she got hurt. She was actually gotten her first Friday night start. So they had some. They didn't have any All-American pitching, but they had good bats and they just had solid pitching. And this year, it's we're kind of we've talked about it. They're a little bit of a mess behind Jordy, and we'll talk about that a little later. And then they played UCLA, and I kind of wrote some notes out just to pop an article. It'll pop tomorrow morning, and there's just a bunch of little notes and fun stuff about the regional coming up. But I talked about the UCLA game because I ran into some people when I got back that were just like, "Oh, UCLA just destroyed us, kicked our ass." Nebraska was never really in it. Jordy was horrible. They should have pulled Jordy in the Penn State game, and it's just all these.
I mean, she had one rough first inning.
That was against Penn State.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like pulling her against Penn State.
But they didn't want they didn't want her pulled because she was doing badly against Penn State. They just thought she needed they wanted extra rest. Yeah. And I said, here's a lot, and I get it. And as Husker fans, the minute things go south, you get a lot of that. The doom and gloom. Oh my God, we've got no chance. They're up 3-0. And the way I saw that game was, first of all, you're playing the number 6 RPI number 6, 9th and 10th ranked team in the country. That's a good team. They're probably the best hitting team in the conference. And the reason I say that is our numbers are a little better, but they played the 18th toughest schedule in the country, and we played the 44th. So they're doing it against overall just better armed than we are, and you have to give the credit where it's due there. But no, against Penn State, we jump out 5-1 after the first inning, tack on a couple more, and then it's we're sitting on the 9-1, I think, for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But here's the thing: this is a team that hits 332, that has power, that can run a little. And when we're up, when did you want her pulled? The last inning? You're trying to get out of there. You're trying to get out of there quick. Leave Jordy in.
Well, she only played 5 innings.
Yeah, and not only that, after that rough first inning, she walks the first batter in the second inning and retires 12 straight.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And she only threw she only threw 63 pitches. That's not a long outing. And besides that, what was the other thing I was going to say? Is that they played at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and didn't play again till 5 in the afternoon on Friday. It's
softball.
Plenty of rest.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's like the softball motion doesn't put the stress on the arm that causes Tommy John surgeries and rotator cuff surgeries. But just the word that keeps popping into my mind is violent, and that's a little too strong. But just that whole jump release, pound that leg in, it'll work you over stamina-wise. So you do have to be aware, because I feel like the body gets tired more than the arm does. But if everything in that, there's so many mechanics to that pitching motion, your stamina starts ebbing a little, and it doesn't take much for things to start going on wrong with your control. So they've got to be aware of that, even though she's, I don't know, the way I hear it, she's the best conditioned athlete on the team. And Rhonda Revelle she loves to always talk about how she's just got one speed, and there's times I wish I could slow her down a little, but that's just not how she's built.
Yeah.
So you're probably there might be a fight on the mound between Rhonda and Jordy. She tries to pull her when everything's clicking, and then here, UCLA, there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't tired. She struck out 11, walked nobody, gave up 9 hits. Yes, but you're also pitching to a team that has faced a lot of good arms this year, as I said, and they're going to get some hits. It's Jordy Bahl. We have unreasonable expectations every time she takes the mound. But she gave up 4 runs to a team that averages close to 8 a game. My problem wasn't so much, Jordy had problems, gave up 4. This pitcher, she pitching the game of our life, the way they were chasing the rise balls for those strikeouts. I mean, that had to be one of her better performances of the year, at least till, we batted her around, bopped her around a little in the 6th. But why can't our 355 hitting team get two or three more runs off of her? She has Jordy has the low ERA, and I think she came out of there still around 177 or something like that. Caitlin Terry's is 270. It's a good solid ERA. It's you're a quality starter with that, but we've been able to knock quality starters around. So I kind of was like what a bad day for us to start chasing bad pitches. So I didn't really put it on. Everybody wants to put it on Jordy and Rhonda for over pitching Jordy. I think you put that one on the bats, and you have games like that. But I'm not going to go blame Jordy because she needs to go throw a 1-hit shutout every start. So I don't know. Did you get to watch a lot of it this weekend?
I watched the Penn State game.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't able to watch a lot of the UCLA game. I was getting my car.
Because what?
I was getting my car fixed.
Oh.
My brakes and my rotors were bad. So my wheel was
Mm-hmm.
Stop with the propeller.
What's that?
Stop with the propeller.
Yep, I didn't say a word. I just took a drink of delicious Propel.
We were at the store the other day, and we saw Propel, and Helen was like, "Hey, Propel!"
We love Propel. Let's see. So Nebraska at this point now they're 39-13. They ended the season 17-5, tied for second in the conference. Said that last week. Got third in the Big Ten tournament for the 3rd straight year. Last week was the final. They didn't redo the rankings or whatever. Last week was the final rankings, so we finished consensus number 19, 19th in all 4 polls. And let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the selection show. One note: after I went down there, so got to watch the team watch it. They cheered. They were happy, but there was none of that going bananas like some of the teams, because basically they were in that area outside of hosting, outside of the top 16. Those teams are all going to be happy to see and go a little nuts seeing where they got seated. And then you have the ones that are like, "Oh, we made it in! Woo!" Nebraska ranked 19th, 23rd in RPI. They knew they were in. They knew they're a number 2 seed in some region. It just turned. The only thing up for grabs was where are we going? And Nate Rohr and I were there, and we were still kind of thinking Texas or Arizona, because what they do is they do try being the key word, they try to keep everybody within a bus ride with their regional. Now, the SEC gets 9 teams in, 8 top seed, or eight in the top 10, or of them are in the top 10.
Yeah.
So 90 or 16 hosts, and then there's going to be more from the ACC, and everybody's going to be in the South, and UConn's going farther than we are, because we're going, and we thought Texas might be closer, so they'll give us Texas, and Texas was kind of around that 10 spot. And what they did was, I think, stayed pretty true to where they had teams ranked, and not necessarily just RPI, but just true to what the committee. They weren't doing any goofy things. I had one friend who was convinced they were just going to throw us in the Norman regional, even though that should be a team around number 32, just to have Jordy pitch against her own team and put her on ESPN in prime time and that nonsense. But they didn't.
For the views.
Yeah, for the views.
I mean, that's basically what they did when they made Nebraska host women's basketball.
Yeah.
Like this them first round of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They just did it because probably.
Sure. And I mean, I was comparing it kind of to basketball, except, you know, trying to put it in perspective of like the round of, or the up to the round of 16, you know, because then they're just, you know, they're doing groups of 16, and really this is like 4 groups, you know, so I was trying to make 4 groups of 4. And no, I was just glad. And this guy, I think his name was like Kurt McDuffie or something like that. He was the chairman, and he did like a Zoom interview afterwards. And I was eating at Da Vinci's, and I just wanted to mostly listen to what he had to say, because I felt like the Huskers got put exactly where they belonged. So there's nothing to gripe. Yeah, I was basically going to get on that show just to, if they did throw us in with Oklahoma, just come in and start asking really snide questions. And I said, here's the thing. I wish they had a guy like this running the football committee, because this guy, it had, you know, you couldn't see it, but any team they were questioning their placement or whatever, he's going, wait a minute, I got that. And he had notes and a team sheet, and he is just absolutely going, here's why we did this. And yes, I know we're supposed to do this. It's impossible. We did the best we could. Talking kind of about the distance. And then there were times where he had to put like teams from the same conference into a regional, and that's another thing they try to avoid. And he just did a wonderful job explaining it, as opposed to the CFP, where the playoff, where this guy's out there and he's got the cold sweat going and he's stammering, trying to come up with the bullshit excuses for whatever crap ass. Hey, this team has 2 losses, but we're going to throw them in there, and just the stuff like that. It was much worse. Once we get to the field of 12, I could care less, because you're going to have 5 to 7 teams that don't belong anywhere near a playoff for the championship. So you can't really screw that up. But when it was 4, they were leaving deserving teams in to get an Ohio State in, you know, to get an Alabama team that didn't even win their division in. And there he is out there. Well, you know, it's like, now wait a minute, you kept Baylor and who else was it? It was and TC. I think it was Baylor and TC. You kept them out the first or second year because the Big 12 didn't have a championship game. Got to play in a championship game to get in the playoff, and then Alabama doesn't make it, and Alabama doesn't get into a championship game because they don't win their division. They lost to LSU or something. Oh no, then they chicken out. Oh no, but we got the eye test on Alabama. But you said nobody made, so they're just, you know, they were just constantly stepping on their own bullshit rules. And this guy was just, no, I got it. Here's our reasons. My favorite that I use as an example is Oregon. Oregon was like ranked 6th and 8th or something like that, and they get the 16 seed. Well, if you go look at their RPI, they were 18th. And this guy's like, why does Oregon, a top 10 ranked team, get a 16 seed? And he just goes, well, here's the thing. And I'll tell you what Nebraska's were in this area. He goes, they played easily the worst schedule of any of the seeded teams. Everybody else had pretty much a top 20 schedule or better. And theirs was 62nd. They're the 62nd toughest schedule. And they have, I'll explain this real quick. It's pretty simple math. They have the 4 quadrants that they take a look at your records. There's quad 1, which are teams ranked 1 through 50 in RPI. Quad 2, which is teams 51 through 100. Quad 3, which is teams 101 to 150, and then the dreaded Quad 4, 151 to 309, or however many teams there are. And he pointed out, it's like, hey, your strength of schedule stunk, and you had 3 losses combined in Quad 3. I think they had 2 Quad 3 losses and a Quad 4 loss. And just to compare, Nebraska was 9-12 in their record was 9-12 in Quad 1, top 50 teams. They were 8-1 in Quad 2, and that was almost an 8-0, and then a 10-12 because that loss was Iowa, and Iowa just kept flirting right around number 50 all season.
Oh yeah, because Iowa didn't make it, did they?
Oh no, they didn't. And that was one for them to make it. They needed to win a couple games in the conference tournament, probably get to at least to the semis and probably the finals if they wanted in. Because they were sitting there, and actually, you know what? They were in the high 40s going in, and Missouri at 43, I think, was the only SEC that didn't make the tournament, just because of all the at-large bids. And so I don't think Iowa would have had to win the tournament. But they almost ended up being a Quad 1 win force. I think they were like 48th going in, and then they lost to Penn State, and that dumped them out. So we were yeah, we're 9-12 in quad 1, 8-1 against quad 2, and then 14-0 and 8-0 against quad 3 and 4 teams. We won all the games we had to win because they would look at those quad 3 and 4. First, they were looking at your strength of schedule and how did you do? Did you have horrible losses? If you have a horrible loss, they might peg you down a couple. But yeah, props to that guy. It was an interesting show. He explained everything really well and was confident in all, even the ones where he goes, I know some people are upset, but here's why we did what we did. So good for him. Trying to think anything else about Selection Sunday was kind of fun. Couple of the moments because there'd be like they kind of nod when right out of the gate because they just went from 1 to 16 with the regions and they do Oklahoma's first and all of a sudden the number 3 name out of their mouth is UNO. So yeah, UNO I think is the number 3, so they're playing I think the number 2 seed in that region. So if they win that game, which I think they pulled an upset or 2 last year, then they'd be playing Oklahoma on their home field. Kylie McGee there was a funny moment there when they did Arizona State. She just starts like kind of shaking her head and laughing, her old team. And then you look and all the girls are starting to look over and then just for a few moments there's just the entire team staring at McGee and she's kind of in the middle on the end where they're all crammed in on the couches and chairs, and she just kind of turns and sees everybody, and she's like, "What?" Like all but going like, "Leave me alone." And then the funniest was they'd have the regional host, then the 4, 3, and 2 teams. So they do here's LSU, and you could tell no one's really thinking LSU, and I think Nate and I were like, that's a little far. But then they go they do Southeast Louisiana, and then they go and the Huskies of Connecticut, and everybody was like, almost had us, and then the Huskers of Nebraska. So that was pretty funny. But like I said, they were clapping. I think they were happy, if nothing else, not to have to go to Stillwater again.
Yeah,
because that was the other 2 times this senior class made it. Yep, they were stuck in Stillwater. But yeah, so anyway, it was a fun time. I'd never actually been in the room for a selection show with the team, and it was just fun to listen to them talking and just talking about what's going to happen, and good for them. They seem pretty thrilled to go down there. So let's see. Talked about the quadrants, I guess. Well, the comments line is dead tonight. Just Connor's weird one. Our boys Pit Snipe and Highlander Gun and TSD, but must be blowing us off on regional week. I'll let them have it when they come back. But yeah, if you're out there, you got any thoughts on this, and you're watching it on YouTube Live, just go into the comments section on the right. If you have a question, great. If you've got your own thoughts, throw them out there. I don't think I've ever really verbally abused anybody for a thought on the comment line. The worst I'll do is disagree with you, and so many people disagree with me. I figured, must be something that y'all can live with, because God knows I do. Disagreeing with myself. Not too much hot and not. They only had the 2 games. Wow, Jordy had a lot of trouble with Caitlin Terry. 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts. The Purdue people on the PA system, we couldn't quite tell, but it was almost like they were going out of their way. And the UCLA fans were heckling Jordy pretty good. There were a few of them really letting her have it. I don't think you ever hear that stuff on the field. Even when you played hockey and all the manic parents, well, first of all, they're behind glass half the time. And I can only I remember one game where I can really hear what a parent was yelling from the stands. It was some team. I think it was when we were up in Buffalo or St. Cloud, but in that area. And we were playing, was it Apple Valley? It's where the 2 sisters were from, Elizabeth and
Peterson.
Peterson, yeah, right. And there was some, and I think their seats were a little above the glass, and there was just some big old Minnesota dad unloading like it's the 7th game of the Stanley Cup. And that's the only, I think finally a rep had to be like, you need to quiet down. I guess a Cedar Rapids dad got kicked out of a game that I wasn't at. I think somebody told me he was harassing everybody from the stands, and they finally said, we're stopping the game till you leave.
When we were in Naperville, I'm pretty sure the ref was a parent out.
Did he?
One time.
I don't remember anything really or maybe it's one of those things where he threw him out, but I didn't really hear what was going on, too, because if I can't hear it, it didn't count. But
I have like a second memory of that.
But anyway, the Purdue broadcast or PA guy was, I think it was like the first, like when Jordy let off, and now the Big Ten Pitcher of the Year, Jordy Bahl, and it's like, he kind of sticking it to her a little there, because then she comes up the second time, she's the Big Ten Player of the Year, and Nate's like, give it a rest, dude, And so the third time she came up, we were kind of like, you got another one in the chamber, buddy, and then he just was like, and now batting Jordy Bahl, and
Jesus.
so we couldn't tell. Maybe it was just his voice. His voice is just a boomer, and we were only paying attention because it was one of our girls, but. Whatever. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the pitching rotation, because I think this is going to be the key to getting out of the regional for the first time in I don't know how many years. We can't throw a Jordy every game, especially Saturday rolls around, because everybody just plays their one game on Friday, and then Saturday they've got to play it out until there's two teams. So the first game will be the winner. The early game will be the winners of the two Friday games. Next game will be the losers. Game after that will be the winner of those two losers against the loser of that first game of the day. And then, let's
best
see.
2 of 3, right?
What's that?
It's a best 2 of 3.
It's double elimination. It's not best 2 of 3. It's double elimination. Just lose 2 and you're done.
Oh.
Yeah.
The super regional.
So what you wanted, the dream for Nebraska, is to win that first game. UConn's a game that, God, I think you could almost take your chances, start McGee against UConn, and just try to win that game, because they come from the Big East, and the Big East is just one of those garbage conferences that's probably 2/3 quad 4 teams. And let's just talk about UConn here. They finished 35-17, 18-6 in the Big East, which was second in the regular season. RPI 53. They got a good RPI. Strength of schedule 87. Not too bad for the Big East. And then they went 3-0 in their tournament. Beat Providence 5-4, and then beat Creighton 12-1. Creighton comes back through the loser bracket. They get them again. They beat Creighton 18-4.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny. So, sorry for any J-skers that might be listening, but yeah, that was kind of humorous.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry.
I like UConn because of Paige Beckers and Gino. So
what's that? Oh yeah, you're a UConn fan. I always like the way they gave them the nickname Huskies by going the UConn Huskies too. Sounds like YUKON. But anyway, the dream scenario is win Friday. If they face LSU, which I'm pretty sure they will on Saturday in that winners game, have Jordy get one over on LSU, and then sit around while these guys play two more games, and be able to start Jordy on Sunday, and then just let her go as long as she can. And if it's not going well in that first, let's say they're in they're coming out of the winners bracket 2-0. Let's say it's not going well early, get her out, kind of surrender game one, or hope the bats get going, and maybe save her up for later in the game if they take a lead, or just have her rested, so maybe she only pitched a couple innings of that first game. But how Rhonda handles that's going to be interesting, because if they do lose that game, let's say they beat UConn, lose to LSU, then you're going to have like Hannah and Kylie and possibly Emerson Cope get involved, and it's just going to be up to her to determine who she thinks is the hottest hand, and especially if they can't get the bats going. So that'll be interesting. I don't know what you do there, because it's just not a good situation in that number 2 starter spot right now. I know McGee had a good outing against Maryland, and Rhonda was extremely happy about that, but that was Maryland, and there's no Marylands in the Baton Rouge region. What's that?
One game.
Yeah, one game, and her strongest games were against 3 of the weaker hitting teams in the conference. So I don't know.
It doesn't really say much.
No, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Let's just put it this way. I don't think she's rolling in there without any kind of a plan. She's had weeks to think about it. And I think that's why she gave Hannah the start against Maryland too, is maybe she's thinking that might be who I have to go back against. And Hannah had like a average, not great outing. I think then Kylie came in through the last 7 or last 4. But yeah, we'll see. Funny story from the Big Ten tournament weekend. I drove back after the game, just got back, 3:30 late Friday night, early Saturday morning, whatever. And so Saturday I sleep way in, and then I just head down to go watch the finals between Michigan and UCLA. And about the middle of the first inning, maybe, I get an email. Hi, you have been, we request that you cast a ballot for the Big Ten All-Tournament team. And the way it came out, I felt better about it. And especially the way the numbers came out on like the all-conference first team and stuff. Like Michigan got the same number of players for all conferences we did, where we tied for second and Michigan finished 8th.
Yeah.
Baloney. Good.
The all-tournament team is always like the season. The season doesn't matter. It's just basically the top 2 teams.
And here's the thing: we finished 3rd, and I had a feeling something like this was going to happen. So I actually you could pick 12 players, and positions didn't matter. None of that mattered. Just pick your top 12. And I picked 4 Huskers. I went with Jordy. I went with Ava Cusack, who just had an amazing tournament. I think, what was she? Ava was 2 for 5, but she walked 3 times. So she ends up 625 on base percentage, knocked in a run, scored 3 runs. She was the only one that made the all-tournament team. I also picked Ava Breadwell because Ava and Hannah or both. That's why I'm getting confused. Both Avas and Hannah were all in like the top 6 players in the tournament and RBIs, on base percentage, that sort of thing. So I could plead the case. There's 3 of the best hitters in the tournament. And then Jordy's going in because she hit okay. Like she still ended up with the first game with on base 3 for 7, scored 2 runs, and then she pitches 2 solid games. And so I was like, that's Lauren Dukowski of Michigan was. I had her picked as the MVP, and we had to pick it by the end of the 6th inning. So you're going into it, and maybe you don't win. But I was going, okay, Dukowski's already gotten 2 wins. She's about to get her 3rd. She's it, and she did get like the player of the tournament. But I could defend every Husker there, and I was going, okay. I was really nervous when I came back. I don't know that anybody's actually going to check ballots to go get this guy do idiotic things, but I felt like I could defend all the Huskers, and then the 9 that the other 9, obviously, because 3 of them got other girls replaced them, but the other 9 were, every single one of them was on my ballot. So I feel like I did a good job. And I'm not beating myself up, because if me choosing 4 Huskers was maybe 1 too high, them going with 1 was a couple too low. So I wouldn't have any problem. Hey, we want to talk to you about your ballot. Hit me. I'll go. I'll defend it. But it was also kind of neat, first time ever getting to vote for like an NCAA like tournament for all tournament team. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Serious note, completely serious. Anybody watching, find the comments section or my email. If you go to our masthead on cornnation.com, email me. My email, masthead, you can look up any of us. I got my email there. I want to know places to go eat near the stadium. I want to know what kind of grub.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Connor went to Baton Rouge in November.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well,
He went to the LSU.
Oh, go ahead.
He went to the LSU Alabama game and he was down there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. So if he went anywhere, and what I'm looking for is obviously not where the nearest Jimmy John's or Applebee's is. I'm looking for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. Find me restaurants near the campus. And if there's something you love and it's a little farther, throw it at me. I'll take a look. But I'm just looking for like local flavor, and if anybody's had anything, it's in the article popping out tomorrow, and I'm just going to be asking anybody who's been down there, hey, where should I go eat? Cajun cuisine, obviously, but any other good, just local stuff down there. Whoop it on me.
I'm super hungry.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it's not like I started naming meals, but now that you bring it
I'm
up,
just hungry.
yeah, our own Aaron Rostovsky had been to West Lafayette for baseball, so he steered me at a couple of restaurants, and one of them was called the Triple X. It was just kind of a drive-up part. You could either eat it. No, it wasn't a theater. I know. No, and it was called the, and then XXX. So the triple, and it had the actual word triple on there too, but then 3 X's. Anyway, you could either eat inside, just sitting along the counter, a little warm for squeezing up with people on the counter, but outside they had like all kinds of like covered picnic tables, and the weather there was amazing all weekend, like 60s, low 70s. So I had no problem sitting outside and like re-editing, rechecking the article. But at the Triple X, they had a meal called the Drew Brees. And, well, most of you probably know Drew Brees played at Purdue, so they've named something for him on the menu. The Drew Brees was a chicken fried steak, sausage gravy, 2 eggs, any way you like them, and then hash browns smothered with sausage gravy, and then 2 biscuits. And here's the thing about the biscuits. So they were like halves, so you got like 4 halves, and buttered and grilled. So they're like the biscuit, the inside of the biscuits are kind of browned and grilled, and it was just fantastic.
Okay, I'm logging off. I'm hungry now.
Are we getting hangry?
Yes.
So yes, if you make your way to West Lafayette, I'll trade information back. If you ever end up in West Lafayette, actually pretty nice campus too. I like the place. They take some pride in what they do there. But yeah, get the Drew Brees. It will, and it's not one of those that's so huge a meal. It's a good portion. It fills you up, but it's not one where you're going to be having to run a half marathon for the next 4 days to work it off. They don't overdo it. Let's see, what else do I have here? Where to eat? Oh, and I asked Miley about this. Yeah, we're just about done. Let's see. But I asked Miley about this. Our hotel's pretty good because I'm taking a flight there that morning to Baton Rouge, and the game starts at 3 and the check-in's at 3, and I'm going to be an hour and a half early for the games at least. So our hotel's pretty good about, even though you can't check in, I want to just be able to drop my bag off and not have to carry it around the stadium with like my iPad and all my writing stuff bag, and then my camera bag. I just like to carry those 2 little things around and drop the bag off at the hotel, and I didn't know, and just promise them like I'm not worried about anybody stealing my clothes and my personal toiletries. So it's like, because I'm not really going to put it on you if something bad does happen and you want to wear my shit, go ahead. But I don't know if anybody's ever run into that. Be curious. I'm just going to message them tomorrow, see what they say. Anyway, I think that's about it. Let's see. Let's go through the other 2 teams. This will be fast because we're not going to do the players. I'm not doing the players for 3 teams. I know. So I gave you UConn's details. So now we're down to 2. LSU finished 41-14. And and they were ranked, let's see, RPI rank was 6th, and then their poll rankings were 8th and 10th. So just to give you an idea of the SEC, they were 41-14 overall, 12-12 in the SEC. So take them outside the SEC, and they were 29-2. Oh yeah, this doesn't inspire confidence. Their strength of schedule. They played the 6th toughest schedule in the country, and I guess if you go 12-12 in your conference and you're ranked 6th, you've played a pretty tough schedule. And they were done in 2 games in the SEC tournament. They beat Mississippi State 5-0, and then got beat by Oklahoma 4-1. And then the other team, the whooping boy, is Southeast Louisiana. They finished 48-14, 21-6 in the Southland Conference, finished 2nd. And then I'm not going to go through their conference because for some reason these lunatics had a double-elimination conference tournament. They went 5-1. They played 6 games in their conference tournament. Just what kind of maniac does that? But just to give you an idea of how they got to 48-14, their strength of schedule was 202nd in the country. that team was their RPI was 68, but it was only they and one other team were not at least, I think, quad 3, and I think that conference was half quad 4 teams. So they did not play like what LSU did for strength of conference. Southeast Louisiana's was the complete opposite of the SEC. So I think that's about all we have here. Let me make sure I took care of all the pointless stuff. Yeah, I think so. Want to give Hannah Camenzind a shout out for that triple with 2 on. I'm telling you what, the picture on the front of the website, it'll be her following through on that one she tripled off the wall, and that was just a laser shot. It was probably about 2 feet from going over the fence, and it hit the padded fence so hard it just came shooting back over that right fielder's head and halfway back to the infield. So she had no problem getting a triple. So good for her. And by the way, she got stranded on third when third baseman made a grab through, I can't remember, out at first, Bella maybe, and the ball was clearly in foul territory. She was in front of Hannah, who was on the bag, and so she's in front of Hannah, and you can see her reach, and you see the glove where she's catching the ball like this far over the line. It was a foul ball. Should have had another swing at that one. Do we win? Who knows? I'm just tired of not getting the chance. So
I'm really hungry.
Miley's really hungry. So we're gonna let Miley go. We're gonna call it a night. Be sure to watch Husker Heat after next Tuesday. Be sure to watch John next Monday. There might still be Minnie doing the Monday night therapy, and then Thursday nights Greg and Minnie on the 5 Heart podcast. I love to try to remember to pump other people's tires a little. And I think, hold on, Miley, 1 second. I just want to make sure I'm getting everything in there. I know it's dry. I'm not doing it.
I'm hungry.
I'm not doing. Oh, you're engaged. You're glowing. Your hunger can wait.
Eat it.
Hey, that's not bridely at all. That's
No.
that sounds like a Kentucky shotgun wedding talk.
Hell yeah.
Up years, Daddy. I'm moving out. Yeah, damn right you are. Hotels, rotation, selection Sunday, quads.
Okay.
I think we're good to go.
Okay, good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us as always. I've got the article popping tomorrow. There'll be that'll just be some fun notes.
Oh my god.
Thursday I'll have a more detailed preview, scouting, all that stuff, and then your recaps will begin Friday. And boy, that can get fun in the afternoons. I learned in Stillwater 3 years ago. Good night, everybody. Miley.
Yes. Oh, GBR.
Say good night to everybody.
Good night.
What are you gonna eat?
Sandwich.
What kind?
From Jersey Mike's.
Ooh, so is there a Jersey Mike's hot sandwich just sitting in the room taunting you right now?
No, it's not hot, and it's not in the room.
Okay, but all right, so it's on its way.
Yeah, no, it's in the other room.
Oh, it's in the other room, so it's there.
Yep.
Okay, let's do 5 more minutes
No.
on how exactly OPS is. No, I'm just kidding. Miley, congratulations once again. Love you to death. Thanks for all of you watching. Love you guys too. Not as much as Miley, but that's just the way it's got to be sometimes. I still really love and appreciate you guys. Go Big Red and go GEAUX. Go Big Red, because we're gonna be in Baton Rouge. So
Oh my god.
here we go. It was the title of the show. Shut up. Nobody else did it. I did it. I came up with that. Go Big Red. Suck it. The rest of the regional. Let's go. Let's mow through them.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll start the last week I started doing Miley for the end video. It's the Indiana coach throwing her fit. Good night, everybody. Go Big Red.
Okay, so for reference, this girl, I don't know if it was this one, but then they walked it off. They walked it off.
Wait, she posted later in the game?
Earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why she has that stink ass look on her face.
The South
Oh, it wasn't the same chick. So this girl, if you look like by the end of it, she wasn't on the base path. Like she wasn't walking the base path because she came from this direction. She's just like full off. Like you see her extend her arm.
I was really like watch her face when like she goes to push like
Yeah, she like braces herself.
braces herself. It's funny.